cut this branch so it doesn't fall on the body. Yeah, but this poor person's been out a while.
Major crimes is notified. They're 51. Can you contact forensics?
It's a little graphic, so...
Trust me, I'm a cop. It's not a big deal.
He broke in the window just about an hour ago. Super with me with a knife.
I'm like freaking out. I just like put a knife under my pillow.
To think that another human being would do this to a person was very disturbing.
April 7th, 2016. Woman call 911. In Newport Richey's North End, a woman discovered what she believed to be a dead man in a wooded area and alerted authorities. Pasco County Sheriff's Deputy Matthew Adamo promptly responded to the call. Deputies initially believed they were responding to a routine death investigation involving a deceased homeless man in the woods. Upon arriving at the scene, Deputy Adamo activated his body-worn camera, unaware of the shocking discovery he was about to encounter. Officers immediately spoke with the 911 caller upon arrival at the scene.
How long ago did you find
Right as the project.
as you called?
Yeah.
Okay.
The woman informed officers that the remains were located near a shopping mall adjacent to a mobile home community. To preserve the scene, officers typically establish a perimeter encompassing the entire area. An outer perimeter secures the broader surroundings, while a smaller inner perimeter is often set up to focus on critical aspects of the crime scene. Investigators summoned a CSI team to process the scene and began searching for potential witnesses. The urgency of canvassing lies in securing surveillance footage before it's overwritten and identifying witnesses while they are still in the area and their recollections are fresh. Deputies began their investigation by canvassing the nearby neighborhood residences. One of the challenges during a neighborhood canvass is engaging with witnesses or finding individuals willing to share information.
I guess I'll start out with you first. We're conducting a death investigation. We're here in this wood line. There was a badly decomposed body that was just found.
Is that just stinking back there? I'm telling you, I smell some bad back there.
It's probably the dead body. It looks to be about 2 weeks old. A white male, and he's got a red shopping cart next to him.
About 3 weeks ago, I seen there was a white male back there. He had brought like food and got a shopping cart.
Did he say anything to you at all?
The only thing he really said was, he said, "Hey, I'm back here. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm homeless." I said, "It's no problem, man. You do what you do."
It's often uncertain whether the information provided by witnesses is accurate, relevant, or useful to the investigation. At the strip mall, deputies questioned business owners, seeking information and checking for working surveillance cameras.
Do you have physical drives here, like actual hard drives that record?
No.
Mind if I take a peek at your system? Can I just look at it, see what kind of system it is?
Yeah, man.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Seeing surveillance cameras doesn't guarantee they will provide any usable information. Often, surveillance cameras either don't record, retain footage for long, or the operator is unfamiliar with retrieving the recordings. Unfortunately, the surveillance video did not provide any useful information in this case. Investigators hoped that a closer examination of the remains would reveal more definitive clues. The scene presented additional challenges as it was located outdoors in a densely wooded area, making the investigation more complex. As investigators moved closer to the body, they noticed it appeared to be dressed in female clothing. This detail shifted the dynamic of the investigation, prompting a reassessment of the situation. Investigators immediately suspected they might know the identity of the remains. The remains were suspected to belong to 21-year-old Brooke Lynn Peck, who disappeared in October 2015, just over a mile from the wooded area where the body was discovered. Her family had been searching for her ever since. Brooke Lynn Peck was deeply cherished by those who knew her. Described as having a lively personality, she was someone who selflessly prioritized others, even if it meant going without herself. "I've never met anyone who had something negative to say about her," a close friend shared. "For her loved ones, closure has become the most important goal. If she was murdered, I'd like to know. You never want to hear the worst, but even that is better than hearing nothing." Whether the remains belonged to Brooke Lynn would only be confirmed after the coroner's autopsy. Crime scene technicians moved in to carefully examine the body for any potential evidence. Investigators finally got their first close look at the remains. Evidence suggested foul play, as there were clear signs of blunt force trauma to the victim's head. The victim's dress was pulled over her face, and her stockings were torn, adding to the evidence of a violent assault. Typically, when a body is discovered, the absence of jewelry can be an indication that the person was robbed. This was one of the most harrowing scenes investigators had encountered. The thought that someone could inflict such violence and abandon the victim without identity, care, or remorse was profoundly disturbing. Near the body, investigators collected a pair of women's flip-flops, an empty bottle of rubbing alcohol, and several pieces of garbage. Sorting through the trash to distinguish evidence from unrelated debris added to the challenges of the investigation. Early on, difficulties arose as the victim's identity remained unconfirmed, and there were no suspects or clear motives. Compounding the situation, the perpetrator had several weeks' head start on law enforcement. Pasco County, Florida deputies suspected the remains might belong to 21-year-old Brooklyn Peck, who had vanished just over a mile from the crime scene. Brooklyn had been reported missing to the Newport Richey Police Department. When we were first contacted about the body found west of Highway 19, they told us it might be her, but not to get our hopes up, a family member recalled. At that point, I was prepared for whatever the truth might be. At the crime scene, investigators uncovered troubling signs of sexual assault, further deepening the gravity of the case. The positioning of the body appeared unnatural. Her dress was pulled over her head, and her legs were arranged in a V shape, a deliberate pose consistent with evidence of sexual battery. It was clear she had not positioned herself this way. The medical examiner confirmed that the cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. Despite the body's deteriorated condition, investigators were able to retrieve fingerprints, which would be used to confirm the victim's identity. Investigators also discovered traces of DNA at the scene, believed to have been left by the killer, providing a crucial lead in the case. Corporal Joseph Iapollo of the Newport Richey Police Department had been handling Brooklyn Peck's missing person case. While Brooklyn led a high-risk lifestyle and had a difficult upbringing, it was unusual for her to go more than a couple of days without contacting family or friends. Her aunt initiated the missing person report, prompting Corporal Iapollo to dig deeply into her case. No detail was too small, he noted, as he asked family and friends about her lifestyle and regular hangouts. Given the proximity of the body to areas Brooklyn often frequented, investigators believed there was a strong possibility the remains belonged to her. With the case now classified as a homicide, detectives meticulously reviewed Brooklyn's missing person file. One detail stood out, a unique physical characteristic. Brooklyn was missing the tip of her left pointer finger. This critical information was shared with the medical examiner's office. However, upon examination, the victim found in the woods had all fingers intact, raising doubts about the identity of the remains. At this point, investigators confirmed that the remains did not belong to Brooklyn Peck. The revelation brought a mix of emotions, relief that it wasn't her, but also sadness, as they had hoped this discovery would provide closure to her case. The search for answers continued, leaving her family in limbo once again. The lack of an identity for the victim left investigators scrambling to determine who she was and uncover the story behind the tragedy. Police reviewed their missing persons cases in search of a match for their unidentified Jane Doe. Almost immediately, they found a promising lead. The lead pointed to 52-year-old Judy Theos, who had been reported missing around March 14th, nearly a month before the body was discovered in the woods. Judy and I embarked on a road trip to Florida to visit a friend battling cancer. While I returned to Maine, Judy decided to stay behind to care for her. Judy and I were often mistaken for mother and daughter due to our 20-year age difference. But our bond was much deeper. We were like soul sisters. Before I left to head back north, I told her to be careful, not to take unnecessary risks, and to always watch her back. The medical examiner's office successfully obtained a fingerprint from the deceased, confirming that the remains belonged to Judy Theos. While one family found hope, another was left to face the depths of despair. I was in complete shock. Reality truly sank in when her sister told me that Judy's body had been found. Investigators needed to piece together Judy's final days and hours, uncovering where she had been and who she had been with before her murder. Her best friend Glenda Cook provided a crucial lead. Glenda had a voice message from Judy, offering a potential clue in the investigation. Investigators followed up by interviewing others connected to the case, and a name surfaced, Charlie. Judy had reportedly met an older man named Charlie at an acquaintance's house, and he was the last known person to see her alive. The only details they had were that Charlie was about 70 years old with a long white beard. Beyond that, they had no full name, address, or contact information. With little to go on, investigators found themselves starting from square one in their effort to identify and locate him. The search for Charlie took an unexpected turn when out of the blue he walked into the police station on his own. Charlie's decision to come to the sheriff's office was unexpected and raised suspicions. It was unclear whether he was trying to assist the investigation or if he had an ulterior motive, potentially trying to throw investigators off the trail. In Pasco County, Florida, Charlie, the last person to see Judy Theos alive, unexpectedly showed up at the police station. He went to one of the district offices with some of Judy's belongings and reported that he had been with her before her death.
She said she had a catering job she was supposed to do, and I hadn't seen her since then, except for I talked to her on the phone, and she told me she'd meet me at Nico's for me to come pick her up. When I got there, she wasn't there.
Charlie told officers that Judy had been staying at his house before she disappeared. Charlie then claimed that he had called Judy, and she told him she was at a different restaurant and needed a ride.
And I said, well, what's the name of it? Where's it at? I said, I come pick you up, and the phone went dead. And I said, oh. I tried to back and it went straight to voicemail.
Charlie claimed that he called Judy repeatedly, but she never answered or returned his calls. He also said he brought some of Judy's belongings that she had left behind at his house.
Jeff,
So all she left were her boots, and then what else?
there's a box. It's on the other side. Stuff here, I think it's all.
And how about that box over there?
Right there.
Is that her stuff?
Yeah.
What's in there?
I don't know. I never opened it.
At that point, investigators were uncertain about Charlie's role in the case and whether he was involved in the investigation or merely a witness. Investigators were unsure whether Charlie was a suspect, a witness, or simply the last person to see Judy alive. Charlie insisted that he cared for Judy and showed officers text messages he had exchanged with her before she disappeared, hoping to demonstrate his involvement as a concerned person rather than a suspect. The officer on duty collected Judy's belongings from Charlie and carefully photographed each item as part of the investigation. When Charlie handed over some of Judy's property, it proved valuable in the investigation. It helped investigators gain insights into who Judy was and the places she may have visited, providing crucial context by going through her belongings. While Charlie claimed he had no idea what ultimately happened to Judy, detectives traced the last place she had called him from and began canvassing the area. The team split into groups. Some detectives focused on her known whereabouts, while others went to a nearby convenience store to gather video footage. They also concentrated on several other businesses in the area to collect additional evidence. Investigators hoped the surveillance footage would help them locate Judy and possibly identify her killer. However, reviewing all the video was a painstaking process that would require significant time and attention to detail. Meanwhile, back in Maine, Judy's friends and family gathered to say their final goodbyes to the woman whose life was tragically cut short by a demented killer. A memorial service was held for Judy, and it was an incredibly difficult day. Witnessing her mother mourn the loss of her daughter, along with the grief of the entire family, was heartbreaking. Even though Judy's body had not yet returned home, the sorrow felt by everyone present made it a profoundly emotional experience. In Pasco County, Florida, detectives hoped the surveillance video recovered from the area canvas would provide the answers they were seeking. They soon got a break. The first piece of footage they located showed Judy purchasing alcohol at a nearby convenience store, an area she was known to frequent. In the video, Judy was seen purchasing her items while accompanied by another person. Detectives began to wonder if this mystery man could be connected to Judy's murder. Now, my focus for the investigation is identifying who this person is with Judy, one detective remarked, as the search for the man in the footage became a key lead. Investigators searching for Judy Theos' killer received a new lead when they discovered the surveillance video of her with a male in the convenience store. At that point, they were unsure if he was responsible for her death or simply another acquaintance who might assist with the investigation. Whether he was a witness or a suspect, police urgently needed to find him. Investigators showed a screenshot of the man from the video to residents in the neighborhood near where Judy's body was discovered. hoping someone could recognize him and provide more information. Investigators received information about a man named Grizzly, who lived nearby in a mobile home park and was said to have known Judy. They went to speak with him, hoping he could provide any information that might assist with the investigation. Grizzly told detectives that he recognized the man with Judy in the surveillance footage. He also mentioned that he had let the man stay at his place for a few nights, providing a significant lead for the investigation. Grizzly claimed that the man was looking to get out of town, adding another layer of suspicion to his involvement in the case. Grizzly told detectives that the man had left behind a bag of clothes at his place. He handed the bag over to investigators, hoping it could provide more clues to help solve the case. Upon examining the clothes, investigators confirmed that they appeared to be the same shirt and backpack seen in the surveillance video of Judy and the man at the convenience store. Grizzly mentioned that the man had a twin brother named Jared, but had no further information on his identity. The clothes were sent to forensics for analysis. After speaking with Grizzly, as investigators were leaving, a man named Stefan approached and asked, "Hey, detective, can I talk to you about the IRS?" He gave a wink as he said it, leading the detective to believe Stefan wasn't referring to the IRS and likely had more relevant information to share.
Well, you know where the dollar store is over there in the
Yes.
liquor store?
Yeah.
I'm guessing it was about 6 p.m. And me and he walked with me to get cigarettes at the liquor store. We came out, and she was on the side of the dollar store, kind of leaning against the wall. I waved to her, and he goes, "Who's that?" And I said, "That's Judy."
Stefan revealed to detectives that he knew both Judy and the man from the photo. He also shared a chilling account of a conversation he had with the man later that night, suggesting that he might have crucial information about the case. Stefan's account wasn't limited to just recognizing the man. He also revealed that the man had told him something unsettling during their conversation that night, adding a new and potentially important layer to the investigation.
I guess he wanted to confide in me. He says, "Can I tell you something really bad that I did?" I said, "I guess, unless you kill me." He goes, "Yeah, that's what I'm talking about." And I panicked. I got up and I started pacing. Oh my God. I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I said, "Yeah, how do you think I feel?" And I didn't want to hear no more. At that point, I was freaking out. And then he went on to say something about getting a rush from doing it. He said, "Yeah, I've been back to the spot 2 times with alcohol."
And when he said alcohol, did he meant like drinking
He
alcohol?
drinking alcohol. I got the feeling that he meant alcohol to clean up or whatever.
Like a peroxide type of a thing, like rubbing alcohol.
Yeah.
At the scene, investigators had found a bottle of rubbing alcohol, but at the time, its significance wasn't clear. Now it is understood that the man had used the rubbing alcohol to pour on Judy's body, likely in an attempt to conceal his identity by destroying any potential DNA evidence. Stefan admitted he was terrified that the man might turn on him next, fearing for his own safety after their unsettling conversation.
Starting that night, I'm like freaking out. I couldn't sleep for days. I barricaded my door. I sleep with a knife under my pillow. I sleep with my phone right in my hand.
How long have you known him for? When did you first meet him?
About a week before he confided in me.
So you've only known him for a short period of time.
Let me stop you. I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
When you say you and him, who is that?
10.
Stefan was able to identify the man as Timothy Johnson, providing investigators with a crucial lead in the case. The identification of Timothy Johnson was a huge turning point for investigators, as it felt like they were getting closer to solving Judy's murder. A background check revealed an extensive criminal history. Johnson had been arrested multiple times in Florida for charges including aggravated battery, domestic battery, and 2 separate failures to appear in court. One of these aggravated assault arrests occurred just 3 weeks before Judy's body was discovered. Timothy Johnson had recently been evicted from his home. During this time, he had been drinking heavily and, in a disturbing incident, broke into a woman's home late at night. This behavior added to his already concerning criminal history. The arrest of Timothy Johnson for breaking into the woman's home was captured on Pasco County Police body cam, providing further evidence of his troubling behavior. Timothy Johnson displayed a chilling lack of remorse for the crimes he had committed, remaining cold-hearted throughout the investigation and showing no empathy for his actions. Timothy Johnson had only been out of jail for a few weeks, yet he had now become the prime suspect in a homicide. Pasco County detectives launched a search for him, but the words of one of their witnesses echoed in their minds, adding an unsettling layer to the investigation. The question loomed: had Timothy Johnson slipped through their fingers? Despite their efforts, the detectives wondered if he had managed to evade capture once again. Investigators are actively searching for Timothy Johnson, the prime suspect in the murder of Judy Theos, hoping to bring him into custody and uncover the truth behind her tragic death. Detective Berberick and Detective Baluchia conducted a thorough search of Timothy Johnson's background across multiple databases at the sheriff's office. Thankfully, they didn't have to look far. Timothy was already incarcerated. This discovery brought some relief, and the detectives went to the jail to speak with him. "How you doing, Timothy?" they asked as they began their conversation. The detectives felt they had the upper hand in the interrogation, knowing certain aspects of the investigation that Timothy Johnson likely hadn't anticipated. This gave them an advantage as they prepared to question him. At that moment, the detective admitted feeling nervous as well. "I wanted to make sure I didn't screw it up," he said. "I wanted to get this guy. It felt like my life's mission." While speaking with Timothy, investigators quickly realized this was not his first encounter with law enforcement. He remained calm and soft-spoken during the interview, not displaying any aggression. His demeanor suggested he had experience with these types of situations.
Do you know anything about her death? When was the last time you saw her?
In March.
Up until now, have you heard that she died?
Yeah, that's the first I've heard of it, yeah.
On a personal level, is it somebody you would have hung out with?
Just, yeah. We did have sex, but just regular consensual sex.
Timothy admitted to having sex with Judy, which gave detectives confidence that they were getting closer to securing a confession for her murder.
Once.
Where at?
I remember being next to a dumpster. I remember that.
What happened?
I put her up against the dumpster. We had sex.
Like after that, you guys hang out for a little while?
We had sex. Went our separate ways.
This admission marked a pivotal moment in the investigation. The detective was visibly frustrated, responding, "Come on, she may have been a free spirit, but she's not trash to where she's going to have sex on a dumpster. That's just stupid. It kind of made me mad. Don't criticize your victim like that." This emotional reaction underscored the detective's commitment to seeking justice for Judy. Johnson remained silent, but investigators didn't let up. They continued pressing him, determined to get to the truth and push for a confession.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and cut to the chase because we know that you killed her. Okay? I tell you right now, we know that you killed her. So what can you tell us with regards to that?
And here's where I'm at with this. I know that you're lying, obviously. We're trying to give you the opportunity to explain what happened, why it happened. We think that during your guys' consensual sex, and then it turned to the point where you killed her.
I think it was an accident. That's really what I think.
Am I allowed to have my lawyer present?
If you want to, sure.
At that point, Timothy Johnson shut down, recognizing when to stay silent. However, the detective managed to get him to admit to having sexual relations with Judy. "As soon as he said that, I knew I had him," the detective reflected. "Even though he hadn't confessed yet, deep down, my cop intuition told me it was him." Just as detectives were about to leave the jail, they received word that Johnson's cellmate had information about Judy's murder. This unexpected development gave the investigators a fresh lead, potentially moving the case forward without needing a confession from Johnson that day. The informant, Johnson's cellmate, told police that Johnson had confessed to him about the murder.
We were sitting down talking, and he told me he was having sex with her.
Okay.
She wanted him to stop. He didn't want to stop. He said he choked her. She passed out. He said at that point he got scared. He pulled head. He hit her with some kind of board.
According to the cellmate, Johnson admitted to killing Judy and provided chilling details about the crime. This information added crucial evidence to the case. The informant was able to provide investigators with specific details about the murder, including aspects of the crime that had not been made public. This crucial information further solidified their case against Timothy Johnson. The informant provided investigators with key details, including the location of the crime. He revealed that Johnson had sex with Judy near a dumpster and then left her body in the wooded area after the murder. Additionally, the informant stated that Timothy Johnson had taken Judy's debit card and used it at a restaurant, further implicating him in the crime. Investigators obtained CCTV footage from the restaurant, showing Timothy Johnson eating at the same time as the transaction on Judy's credit card. He appeared nonchalant, sitting calmly without any signs of panic or distress, as if nothing had happened. However, the informant went on to reveal that Johnson had returned to the scene of the crime after the murder, adding another troubling layer to the investigation. The detective reflected, saying, "During all of the investigations I've worked, I've never seen anything like this." The case had taken a disturbing and unexpected turn, leaving the investigators shaken by the brutal nature of the crime and Johnson's actions. The witness statements, along with the debit card transactions and surveillance video, provided investigators with everything they needed to move forward with the case. These crucial pieces of evidence solidified their case against Timothy Johnson. Based on the physical evidence and the testimony of his cellmate, Timothy Johnson was convicted of murdering Judy Theos. He was sentenced to life in prison, ensuring that he would face justice for the horrific crime. The detective acknowledged, "We always see the worst in humanity, so nothing really surprises me. This was sick and disturbing, but it wasn't something that I wasn't used to. Actually, that's a lie. I was impacted by it. I had nightmares not so much because of him, but because her last moments were truly terrible." The brutality of the crime left a lasting effect on the investigator, especially considering the pain Judy must have endured. The detective expressed, "I'm thankful and grateful to have closure, but my heart goes out to the families who don't have that. They're always wondering, holding on to hope that maybe their loved one will just reappear." The struggle for closure, especially in cases without resolution, left a deep impact on the detective's perspective. What do you think motivated Timothy Johnson to commit such a horrific crime? How important do you think the role of witness testimony is in solving cases like this? Thank you for watching. If you found this case as shocking and unsettling as we did, make sure to leave a like and comment below. Your thoughts and feedback are always appreciated. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe for more updates on true crime cases.